Let's rank some Strokes albums. Is This It? Room on Fire, First Impressions, Angles, Comedown Machine, New Abnormal, entire catalog. Let's do it. Is This It? I don't have much to say about. It's one of the most iconic indie rock albums of all time, obviously. It's no dull moments on it. Every track is awesome. It's all fantastic. Every song is an instant classic. It's so good it's boring to talk about. And I don't think it's been beat necessarily. And I mean, by certain metrics, it's just perfect. And I wish I could pick a favorite track, but I can't. So, I mean, S tier, obviously. Room on Fire. Room on Fire is a great second album. There's no way to really criticize it, I think. It's a really good sophomore release. Some of the most iconic classic Strokes songs on this record, like Reptilia, and some just crazy, catchy stuff. Ultimately, I think this album could have been a bit less clean, kind of sounding, but the style works well for tracks like The End Is No End. And I still think some of these tracks sound a bit lifeless, though. I know a lot of people want me to just put this S tier, but there we go. First Impressions. People hate on this album a lot, but I don't know. Don't forget this album gave us You Only Live Once. Juicebox 2, which I believe is really just a cool track. As much as people dislike Heart in a Cage too, it is catchy. This album is more forgettable than others, and it's a bit darker, I guess, in not a good way. It feels like it would have been better maybe as like an EP with a couple of the standout tracks, and the others could have just been improved and adapted to fit on later records. That's easy to say. I don't know if how well that would work. It just feels like the band has nothing to say, I guess. A feeling, by the way, that will definitely pollute some of the later work of the band too. But it's 2005, and the Strokes, they're still a cool indie rock band. But yeah, let's check back after the stock market crashes and Katrina and an unnecessarily long Strokes hiatus. See you then. Oh, we're back. Angles. Okay, cool. We've now established the Strokes aren't necessarily like moving into pop music like every other indie rock band of the time. They're becoming weirder and less cool. In turn, I think making them more cool. Try to keep up. But also, we got like some of the coolest OG Strokes style tracks on here too, like Under Cover of Darkness, as well as Gratisfaction, which sounds like it was written 25 years earlier. And it's so like ridiculously good. I can't believe how well this song was pulled off. I hated it when it came out. I don't know why. I love it now. Please listen to it if you haven't. You'll be so confused. Angles is a really diverse album with lots of different vibes and styles, and they all tend to flow together really well. It's like a lot of work was put into this, and there's this weird tension, I think, with like, it almost feels like Julian trying to like break away from these restraints that were put in place, like with their debut and their sophomore, and he's just trying to be a little bit more abstract with stuff, but it's this, but also not. It's really weird. I think that tension makes this album work really well, and the production is great, and that helps. It's definitely the most dancey Strokes album in existence, and in terms of like vibrancy and color, the polar opposite of the previous record. I think the Strokes proved they could sound good even in like a polished and clean style, sort of, although they never really chased that after this. Personal favorite on Angles has always been Life is Simple in the Moonlight. I don't know why. It's not the best song. I love that song. This record is way better than people I remember, I think, in terms of songwriting, performance, overall style, production. The production is wicked. They really did something cool and then just kind of walked away from it, which is fine. I like that. But anyways, let's talk now about how an album can sound equally as awesome with worse production and, in some cases, less effort. Comedown Machine. Nobody will like this ranking, but it's a personal favorite of mine. I think it's a genuinely good album. I mean, there are moments on this record that are so just both beautiful and like haunting, and that no other release, by the way, of the band has ever given us. Normally these kinds of like, abstract depths and like emotions are reserved for the Voids or Julian's solo work in a couple of cases. I really like the way his weirdness plays off the band here, and just kind of like the experimental nature of his singing causing like tension with a band that's used to playing very simple 2000s indie rock. It really makes this record shine for me. I get why OG Strokes listener people hate this record. They want Is This It? But what kind of a band never changes and keeps just trying to like duplicate their album, their debut album, like 13 or 14 years later? It's just so boring. For example, listen to the chorus of Call It Fate, Call It Karma. Tell me that's not just beautiful. Listen to 50/50 and tell me that's not like one of the gnarliest Strokes songs out there. Also, every song in this record is unbelievably catchy, in my opinion. Every song is just so catchy. And Slow Animals is my favorite track here. And it's just, I still hum the chorus daily. It's just always in my head. Years later. My whole life, it sucks. Of course, the writing is, I mean, the lyricism is just kind of trash on this album. But just to defend that position, when has Julian ever wrote like beautiful, poetic, just like complex lyrics? Strokes lyrics have always just been very simple and in some cases just nonsensical. And I do understand the criticism of the writing on this album because there are some moments on this album that just make no sense. Let me pull up. There's a moment on Partners in Crime. This makes no sense. Here it is. Here, okay. Here are the lyrics, or somebody's interpretation of the lyrics. I forgot your jacket outdoors. Day's been something. See if I care. Well, it's not an okay-ish day. Just so, but yes, if you insist. Okay. A lot of moments like that on this record. There's some laziness really seeping into the band's music around this point. But you got to remember, even with an S tier iconic album like Is This It? There's not, the lyrics are not impressive. So I think it's a valid criticism of Comedown Machine, but it's a valid criticism of the Strokes in general. Comedown Machine, I don't believe deserves the hate it gets, but I understand people's criticism for it and the production and just everything. I get it. I'm gonna put it here though. I'm sorry. New Abnormal. I want to start this by saying this might be the most enjoyable listen. These are songs that'll just also never not be stuck in my head. Really fun, cool Strokes songs. People loved when this came out that they saw it as the Strokes returning to their roots with more maturity and depth. So they're kind of just starting back on, at the beginning, but with the ability to make it better and with the experience to deliver a better product. And it will go down as an iconic Strokes record held to the same standard as Is This It and Room on Fire. It was a huge surprise when this came out, and most people just could not be happier about this. Personally, though, I didn't like that it felt like they were being, I guess, held hostage by a fan base for so many years. And then I maybe returned to this golden era of their music as maybe a little bit of a money grab, or just, I think, more likely to strengthen the legacy of the band. And they did so, I feel, half-heartedly. Julian's the guy who gave us impressive songs like Human Sadness with the Voids. So we know that he's got all this in him, but this return to simplicity, to me, it seems sad. Catchy and simple tunes with Julian's old school Strokes style vocal melodies, what a lot of people want. It's like drugs, but artistically, to me, it feels like the death of the Strokes rather than a resurrection. And that's a really cool line, so I'm going to end it there. Also, we have no more albums and stuff, so I'm going to put New Abnormal here. It's a great album, but I don't believe it. I don't feel it. I'm glad they released this album, and I'm glad that we have these songs. But it just feels like they kind of just came full circle. Like we're back where we started. We kind of got it now. And this, I feel like the Strokes as a band are not. It's just we're not going to get anything new, and that's what we were getting for the last 20 years. Every time the band put out something else, we got something new. And that's great, but the new Abnormal is not something new. And it's not abnormal. So it's simple and catchy with earworm guitars and croony Julian singing and all that stuff that we all really loved about the band and their early work. But I don't think we're going to be surprised by the Strokes again. Anyways, here's my ranking. I know a lot of people would put the last record, in the same categories as This It and Room on Fire. To me, it's not playing in the same field. Anyways, this was fun. Hopefully do more of this. I did a Death Cab album ranking. Check that out. Listen to my music. I got an album coming out called Life After Lizards. Subscribe. Please just subscribe. It's clicking a button. Just do it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.